going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Bobby Dizzle podcast. Joined here by my little assistant eating a cookie. Today, just want to ask everybody, if you will, please subscribe to this channel. Please share this channel. Please share and subscribe. Check out bobbydizzle.com for all ways to follow me, to listen to me, and to watch me, of course. I'm on a ton of podcast applications on your phone, be it an iPhone or a generic model. I don't know. This is one I found back here. I don't even know how it got back here, to be honest. But yeah, bobbydizzle.com, always to follow me, always to watch me, always to listen to me, if that's something you want to do. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, share it with your friends. Today's episode is with a very, very awesome person, Anthony Esemplare of Unidentified S4. We did this a couple months ago. I've been kind of holding in the hopper for the perfect time. And I think this is one of the perfect times as my channel's starting to, I'm not going to say take off, but evolve from the very, very first stages of when I was doing it. I've matured a little bit in how I'm doing it, and so I want to use one of my first episodes now before I look like, 10 years down the road. Well, here's one from 10 years ago. Why do you act like you've never held a conversation before in your life? So without further ado, here's Anthony Esemplare. We talk about some aliens, we talk about some government cover-ups, Bigfoot, and we got wild trees. That's back when he was doing them regular with me. So enjoy this podcast. Thank you, Anthony, for being on. And don't forget to subscribe and share. BobbyDizzle.com, everybody. Thank you. Three, two, one. All right, we got it. Anthony Esemplare from Unidentified S4 from YouTube and ever-present Wild Trees Biologist. How's it going, fellas?
Good, yourself?
Oh, pretty good. So I've been sort of binging your channel this week, Anthony. Tell me about the type of guest you have on the Unidentified S4 on YouTube. Kind of make this appearance on the world famous Bobby Dizzle podcast to be your shameless plug for the world to know who you are.
Well, primarily we cover everything from UFOs, ghosts, cryptids. So I try to get a lot of, a diverse crowd from Cheryl Costa, Jim Goodall, Cristo Rapolo. So high spectrum, low spectrum, doesn't matter who you are, what background you come from, you're all welcome on my show, as long as you're into UFOs, ghosts, and cryptids.
Well, that's understood. Yeah, I saw the Unidentified S4. So I wonder if it's just aliens.
Well, what had happened was it was called Unidentified. And when you would search for the channel, nobody could find it because 10 million unidentified shows pop up. Oh. So then I added the S4 to the end of it, because Bob Lazar's Area 51 S4. And that seemed to work. Now that I'm thinking about it, after all these years, I should have did Unidentified SI, being I do all my UFO hunting on Staten Island. UFO SI would have went better, but everybody seems to like the S4.
You get a lot of UAPs out there on the island.
I do, and believe it or not, MUFON. I just had a meeting with MUFON about a week ago. They told me that Staten Island is like number 3 on the list now for the the most UFO sightings on record last year and this year. So that's pretty cool.
I had a MUFON gentleman on here about a couple years ago. You probably heard Rich Hoffman.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, he hired me at my job. He works with me where I live now in Huntsville. So he's all about that MUFON. What were you gonna say there, Wild?
I work with Jesse Peak from MUFON. I don't know if you know Jesse.
I've heard of him. Seen his name.
Yeah, I was going to ask Anthony, since you got your finger on the pulse as far as UFOs, do you think as a whole UFO sightings are increasing?
Oh, without a doubt, every day. I mean, my new thing now when I have a private beach that I film on, but a lot of fishermen come on there. A lot of people go do their walk for the night, and I'm always compelled to ask, regular everyday folks, have you ever seen anything in the sky? And I find out maybe 6 out of 10 will say yes, they've seen something that they can't explain. Going back a year or two, when I would do that, people would laugh at me like, no, there's nothing in the sky except stars and satellites. But now, oh yeah, I seen something fly over here, or I seen a strange object, and they want to tell you the story. That's fairly new. I haven't had that happen. That's happening now. So I definitely think things are popping off now more than ever. I got to give credit to the government for that, because once they came out and they let everybody know, that UFOs are real, there's something strange going on in the sky, then everybody, that heard about that turned around and said, well, I guess these guys aren't nuts. I guess there really is something to it. And they started looking up.
It did seem to be a lot more personal stories come out after all that.
Oh, certainly.
Maybe they can release information on Bigfoot. That way, these people who are keeping it down home, so to speak, can release those videos as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody that's feeding them out back and whatnot.
I'm a huge Bigfoot fan, man. I go up to Pennsylvania 6-7 times a year, and I was just telling everybody on my show the other day that when I get up there, my favorite thing is when the radio station switches over and it says, "You're up in Pennsylvania. Welcome to Bigfoot Radio, Bigfoot country." That's like my favorite thing to hear, and it's true, because I had an experience up in Pennsylvania cutting wood, like 4:30 or so in the morning. We had only a wood burning stove and a wood burning fireplace, so it was freezing cold in the morning. Had to get out, cut wood with an old axe, and chopping wood. And I'm on a 100-acre lot, so nobody's next to me. 100 acres all around, and I'm cutting the wood. And from the left side of the mountain, I heard something scream on the top. I mean, so loud, on the top of its lungs. And it was so loud and so deep. I kind of say that it reminded me of if you held a speaker to your chest with the bass all the way down and felt that reverberation. That's how loud it was, that you felt it throughout your body. So that really startled me. A couple seconds went by, and then from the opposite side of the mountain, another scream came, but it was higher pitched, like maybe almost, I want to say female, but I can't be 100%. And that really shocked me. I said, oh my God, those weren't coyotes or mountain lions, nothing like that. Those were definitely, I give an 85% shot that they were Sasquatch of some kind, without a doubt.
Nice. You don't have any sensitive tendencies, do you? Not sensitive, but like clairvoyance, like see the paranoia and whatnot.
Well, I'm an empath, so like if somebody's in a bad mood or something, it's gonna rub off on me. I'm gonna feel it definitely. My grandmother was really clairvoyant. She kind of knew things before they were gonna happen. I've been told by people that you can home in on that and educate yourself on how to work on that to get better with it, but I not really. Every now and then I'll go pick a like a pick 3 number in the lotto because I feel it's gonna come and it'll come out and I'll win $500 or something, but never no big money wins. So I guess I'm not that
sensitive.
Not that sensitive, no.
No, it just seems like the few people I've interviewed that have seen the had like for real Bigfoot sightings, like the good ones, 10 minutes or more, they have a bit of the clairvoyance. I was going to see where you.
It's interesting about clairvoyance. I on my channel, I just started reading a research paper that basically shows evidence for like scientific evidence for psychic ability. And I've already covered the section where it explains how it would work, like the mechanics, like what's going on under the engine. So what's very interesting is it seems like everybody, every human, and not only that, every animal seems to have the ability to sense the future or to communicate telepathically. But what's really curious about it is that in order for you, since we all have this ability, in order for us to make use of it. Oh, and the other thing is, it's probably evolutionarily adaptive. So the reason why animals and humans are a little bit psychic or have this ability is because it helps us have children. It helps us survive long enough to have healthy children, which they can pass on our genes. But one way to enhance it is it's basically they're saying that we're constantly being bombarded by this information from the future. Okay, or the past. It's always hitting us, but we need to quiet our minds in order to read it. And what's very curious about that, if you notice, our modern society is the complete opposite of that. We're constantly bombarded by podcasts, by TV shows, by commercials, by noise.
Always on the go.
Always on the go, and that's why I think the telepathic abilities are suppressed, just because of our culture. I could see how in the past there was no television, there was no radio, there was a small village, and you were just sitting still in the desert or in nature. I could see how people would have been more telepathic.
Yeah. There have been times where I'd be sitting on the couch. I'll never forget one time I was sitting on my couch and I was reading a book, and I could have swore I heard my grandmother whisper my name twice in my ear, like, Anthony. I mean, just like that.
Yeah.
And you know when all your hair stands up, so you know that really just happened. But I was trying to like avoid it, that it
Right.
happened, and then it happened again. I was like, Anthony, and I mean, I know her voice. It was clear as day, and that really shook me up. So I've had experiences like that. But as far as trying to home in on, let's say a relative of yours that crossed over, something like that, I've never had that kind of luck yet. No.
You have a lot of people on your show that have experiences either with the cryptid and UFOs, and I know I watched the one today about the gentleman that actually met his grandfather the day he died.
My buddy Adam Begin,
Mhm.
he's more like a paranormal historian. He's great, man. If you want to have him on, he'll come on. Great guy.
Oh yeah.
Very educated with all the stuff that, he'll go to visit all the paranormal locations and then do a segment live on location. He's phenomenal. Then again, I work with Bigfoot Anon. He's a real big Bigfoot researcher. He's written, I think he just finished his 4th or 5th book now. We actually, that crew and I just got done doing a bunch of cartoons on Paranormal Highway. I played the Bigfoot on that cartoon, which is pretty fun.
That was the one from the day, wasn't it?
What's that?
The one from the day with the animations?
No, I had my friend Rich from Rich New Design. I had him come on today as an alien character because I work on the beach behind my house. That's where I film. And everybody's always making fun of me because I got the laser pointer. So I have all these apps that tell me if it's a plane or a satellite or a helicopter or a unmanned aerial vehicle. And if it's none of those, I circle it with a green laser pointer quick so everybody can see, where the object is on my night vision. So today's whole thing, I said, let's have a little fun today. I had him come on because he's got, he knows how to make these cartoon figures. I had him come on as a third person as an alien. And what had happened was I shined a laser in his UFO and it got him in the eye and he crashed. So now he's stuck here on Earth. So we had some fun with that today. And the character that he made was excellent. It had like 3 eyes, looked like a fish. It had a bowl on his head. I mean, it was hysterical. He had a laser gun and flames shooting out of his arm. I mean, he went all out on that. But the crowd got a kick out of it, my afternoon crowd. So I think we're going to play around with that a little more and try to home in on what everybody likes. But that was a ton of fun.
He may be on the next Rick and Morty there.
Right. That's more of the line
opposites.
what that was. Right.
I was going to follow up that question about having the experiences, the folks with experiences on your show. Have you noticed anything in common with the ones that seem really genuine? And Wild Trees knows where I'm going with this, but like, it just seems to be a phenomenon with the people who seem like really genuine, like people that talk about seeing a Sasquatch or a ghost as naturally as they say seeing like a bird at the bird feeder.
I have to be very honest with you. I only invite people on the show that I know for a fact that they're not a bullshit artist. Like I've worked with them. We went out in the field together and, I know what they're doing is legit. Those are the people so far that I've had on my show. I haven't had anybody on yet that, swears they've seen that, this and that, but they're totally disingenuous. I try to avoid that side of ufology and the paranormal world because it'll put a bad tarnish on your show name. It could really hurt you. But the people that I've had on, like, we'll give 2, for example, I had Cristo Rapolo on. He's a good friend of mine. He does The Curse of the Man Who Sees UFOs. He was on Netflix a couple of times. The stuff that he has going on is phenomenal. And he has the scientists and other various people. And he had scientists. I'm trying to think. He had a nuclear scientist on his show and somebody from, was it NASA? It was another agency like NASA where they looked at his footage and they were convinced, that it was something not from this world. So when somebody tells me, when all those people, a nuclear physicist tells you what's going on in the images and these other people are telling you this is all real, what you're looking at, and you get the science behind it, I appreciate that. And then I had the psychic firefighter on. Now I was never real big on psychics, but there's a story about this guy, Adam Razowitz. He's known as the psychic firefighter. He worked for the FDNY, and he would actually see the dead when he was in an active fire site. And he got real nervous when that started happening. He went to go see a famous psychic and working with him because he can hear and speak to them. And he homed in on his skills. And man, that guy, he will give you goosebumps because I've had people go to him and he asked for no information whatsoever, and this guy knew everything about them, which was odd. Just the other day, I sent my friend Elena to him, and I mean, he never met her. He knows nothing about her. I only gave him a first name, and she said her reading was incredible. Her mind was blown. So people like that are awesome. The guys that are lying and bullshitting and just out there to take your money, I don't like those people. You know.
Good. That's I like to answer that question. So you either got the liars or the bullshitters that want the money, or the actual crazy people.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know which one's worse.
Yep. I think they both fit the same category though, because the crazy people want to get at your money too. Unfortunately, you know, it's like everybody for the bucks. They all think they're gonna make big money, and you know, unless you end up being somebody that gets casted for like Gaia or the History Channel or something, you're not gonna make big bucks in this field. You know, but that's not what it's about. It's not about making the big bucks. It's about getting the information out there, trying to figure out what's going on. I mean, I would recommend coming into these fields if you're really interested about finding out what's going on in the sky, or finding out what's going on in the paranormal realm or the cryptid realm. If you're really 100% set on finding out the answers to that, well, then this is the game for you. Otherwise, you know, don't come here to try to make money, because that's not going to happen.
Definitely my game. I want to see I want something to come out to be real, whether it be the cryptid or the ghost. I want to see that White House lawn landing. You know what I'm saying?
You and I both. Yeah, I'm waiting for somebody to roll out of the woods in an F-150 with a Bigfoot strapped to the trunk. So that's what I'm waiting for.
I used to be a Bigfoot kill guy, just for the purely, you know, just the proof aspect. But I think I changed that after talking with the last guy I talked to.
Yeah,
I had to come off of that a little bit. They seemed like they were actually just people of
yeah,
some permutation.
Myself. Now I would dart one and tranquilize it.
Oh yeah, hands down.
But I wouldn't put it out. No, I wouldn't kill it.
Put one in a figure 4, knock it out.
Yeah, you know, just tranquilize it, you know, and tie it up, throw it in the back of the truck, study it, and then when you're done, let it go back out into the wilds where you caught it, something like that. I would do, but I couldn't harm anything, you know. It's just not my DNA.
Not on purpose anyway. Not
on purpose anyway.
The way people describe the human face on a Bigfoot is
not
real or not real. That seems to be a common thing.
They've been seen with their little ones, you know, with the little Sasquatches, you know, running around. Yeah, when you see something like that in the woods, even when I see deer or bears with their cubs, I have to say, I say to myself, yeah, how can somebody shoot that? I know people that would literally shoot that bear with the cubs right there. You know, I just don't have that in me. That's not me. But then again, I'm a steak eater, so I say that's not in me. But then I'll go buy a steak. You know. But,
hey, they said back in the day they used to shoot bear for meat and deer for pelts. That's how much bear. That's a much better bear taste than a deer.
I bet. I've never had bear, but if they start selling it in the butcher shop, I'll try it. But I won't kill one.
I wouldn't mind going bear hunting.
The thing about the Bigfoot body is that the thing about Bigfoot's body is that, like, look, honestly, we have to have a body if we're going to prove that it's real. You know, some scientists have tried to prove that animals are real just by photographs. Like, maybe there's some rare like birds or insects, and a lot of biologists are not buying it. You really have to have that body. But here's the thing, you know, to get a body, you could be creative. You don't have to kill an animal to get its body. You could also wait till it dies naturally. I mean, if we could get a dead body that died of natural causes, that would be good enough too. The other thing is that I was thinking about, okay, like, let's say we get the body, we prove Bigfoot is real. And I was thinking, well, is this good for Bigfoot? Because obviously Bigfoot does not want to be found. It is actively hiding from us. So would that be good for Bigfoot? And a lot of people were like, no, just let Bigfoot be. But then on the other hand, I thought about it and I was like, I don't think anything can escape science forever. Like UFOs, for instance, you know, it's only been about 70 years since, you know, Americans have, or the American military has been studying them. You know, in the big scope of time, that's not that long. So people are still alive that were like 70 years old. So it's not that long. But I do think eventually there's no way to hide UFOs. Everybody will know about them. Perhaps the military knows that. That's why they're starting to open up about it. Yeah. But I think the same thing will be true for Bigfoot. So my thinking is, if we want to protect Bigfoot as a species and its culture and conserve it, I always think it's better to be proactive than reactive. So if we could one way is we just wait. So eventually we wait it out. Somebody will prove that Bigfoot is real, but then we're reacting to everything. We're scrambling to figure out what its place is in the world, how to protect it. Whereas if somebody takes the initiative and discovers it beforehand, then we could do some planning, and it could just not be a big mess. That's kind of my current thinking on Bigfoot and discovering it.
I wonder if they ever captured a primate like Bigfoot, if it had things in its blood or in its DNA that can help cure cancer or rare diseases and things of that like that. That would be more the aspect that I would be interested in testing a Bigfoot to see, if there are any cures we can get from it, to help prolong our lives or cure us from diseases that we have. Because I mean, these things run around the woods forever. They grow massive. They seem very healthy and built when you see them. And when you think about it, what are they really living on? Deers, berries, wild plants. I mean, you're talking about an animal that's between 10 and 12 feet tall, sustaining itself on, natural water, whatever it forages it for or kills. So that's fascinating to me. I do think they're out there, though. I am convinced that they're out there. I've spoken to too many people that had those up close encounters that they just couldn't shake, that they know for a fact they didn't see a bear standing up, that it was something else. I've spoke with this guy Todd Standing a couple times now, and I'm still on the fence about him. But I mean, if it's true, that man photographed and filmed Bigfoots on more than one occasion. But when I weigh the odds against each other in my head, I say, "Oh, this is just too good to be true," because the footage is just impeccable, too impeccable for one man to get multiple times.
Now, I don't want to talk specifically about Todd Standing, so let's just say,
okay, no
in quotes,
yes, in quotes.
I'm saying someone like Todd Standing.
Someone like Todd, right?
Do you think someone like Todd Standing could have a mixture of fake and real stuff?
Yes,
and
exactly.
That's what's confusing. Yeah,
exactly.
You're talking moon landing, fake and real.
Well, yeah, I guess that's a good example. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, just mixing things up.
Sometimes some people get that holy grail image and they get a lot of credibility for it, and they don't want to lose that, so from therefore they will embellish everything else after the fact. That's how I see certain stories on certain people. Not saying true or not, that's just how I perceive it.
Well, I could also see somebody getting some success and then they want to keep the trend going.
Yeah,
and so they can't get the real stuff, so they supplement it with something.
Yep. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And that's sad because
I was going to say,
it's for everybody.
That's a disservice. Yeah, I was going to say that's not
helping anybody.
that does make me wonder, because you get one that's maybe the real thing, like a half a glimpse, but all of a sudden you want 10 minutes, so you get the little guy with the puppet face.
Right.
Yeah, it's just like, so it's clearly not a real thing. You got that on a log, buddy.
It's the same thing in the UFO world, man. You'll get somebody get a phenomenal piece of footage, right? And then they'll say to themselves, well, that guy got 4 million views off that. So now I'll go get one 10 times better, but I'll do it with CGI and overlay it over something, like real background setting or something. And nobody's going to be none the wiser. And I find out in the UFO community, people flock to the fake stuff. I notice if you look at real videos versus fake, the real videos have a couple hundred, if not a couple thousand views. And then the fake shit, it's got millions of views. It's like, do you not realize what you're looking at? It's fake, but they love it. I just can't wrap my head around that either.
Yeah, it's too good to be true kind of scenario with any of that. Like you got the less is more. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say with the people looking at the fake stuff, I think it has to do with, it's like the Michael Bay effect. Like Michael Bay makes these movies, which are technically competent, like the Transformers movies, Bad Boys, but at a certain level, they're not great cinema, but people do flock to them. They like that level of content. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it's not intellectual stuff. And perhaps that's the same thing happening with these fake UFO videos. It's the Michael Bay effect. People like that kind of stuff.
I mean, you could tell, Wild Trees, you could tell right away that there's a video was going around this past week of 3 green points of light in the sky, right? And then everybody's got their cameras out, and then you see the same thing in different sections of the world and everybody's doing the same thing. I'm like, do you not realize that you're looking at CGI, one of those apps that you overlay from the phone? I mean, everybody's not seeing the same 3 points of green light in the sky. If it looks too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true, you know. And that aggravates the shit out of me, because I'll be outside for weeks sometimes without catching a glimpse of anything. And then you've got these people out there that could care less about anybody out in the field doing the research, sitting in the field getting eaten alive by mosquitoes for weeks on end, trying to get some good footage, and they're just overlaying CGI. That really aggravates me, man.
And eventually the government, when they finally roll out, hopefully not Project
Bluebeam.
Bluebeam. I almost said Blue Book. Well, that's not it. Hopefully not Project Bluebeam. Hopefully it'll be real. They'll eventually roll out with the real thing, putting all the researchers out of business when we finally get the White House landing. Hopefully.
Yeah, I don't know if they're ever going to land on the White House lawn, because
you know what I mean, though. The Holy Grail of UFO
we can't even get along with our politicians. I don't think the aliens would, But yeah, the Holy Grail. There's, I thought, to be honest, the Phoenix Lights would have been a Holy Grail scenario back then. I thought that would have nipped everything in the butt back then, but
it was just too.
You need more, I guess.
Yeah, it was too early, and for 1997 technology was not that great.
Right.
It was just too early. Maybe that's why it happened in 97, because they were like, their technology is not good. Even today, honestly, even today, the technology is not great. I mean, everybody loves to say skeptics. They love to say everybody's got a high definition camera on their phone. That's true. But what they don't say is that those cameras, they don't have like a telescopic zoom, and they don't have stabilization. That's actually what you need.
Oh, it's awful.
I'd rather have a low definition camera with a zoom lens and with stabilization than just a high definition camera. The other thing, though, is that I read some more papers on my channel. Like Cal Puthoff just put off a paper about ultra-terrestrials, a scientific paper. Jack Valet put out a paper saying 5 reasons why UFOs are probably not extraterrestrial. So maybe it's because I just read these papers with my audience, but yeah, I think the majority of UFOs that are legitimate are real. I think they're actually coming from Earth. I think they're actually Earth inhabitants that live in the ocean mostly. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that as well. The vast majority of them, not all of them, but the vast majority.
So they're a lot closer to Bigfoot than actually extraterrestrial. I do think I think some extraterrestrials have visited us, but I don't think that's the majority. I think the majority of what we're seeing with such frequency, they are advanced. They do have craft. They are alive. They look weird. They do abduct us, but they live on this planet. They've always lived on this planet.
Yeah, I look at it like this. If you look back in the Bible, you see drawings in the Bible of these craft. You look at cave etchings, they're on cave etchings, these craft. Back in the day, when dinosaurs roamed the earth or cataclysmic events happened, maybe they were forced to go deep underground. They couldn't live above. So their civilization went deep underground, and they adapted to that down there, and they started life down there. However, and maybe they have better advanced technologies than we have, but they're probably more human than we think. More human than they're probably bipedal. They probably speak language, a language. Who knows? But what was his name? Admiral Byrd had said that he went into the inner earth, or Gothia, and he met them. They brought him in, and he's seen it all. It was all in the inner earth. But yeah, it's very plausible. You see a lot of these UFOs coming in and out of the water. A lot of them are in and around volcanoes, shooting in the volcano, out of the volcano. So who knows if they have natural pathways in and out, but they're definitely flying some high-tech craft. That's a given.
The other thing they have in common with Bigfoot is that they don't want to be found, because I think, this was in that book, that scientific paper by Jack Valet. He was putting out the idea that they want us to believe they're extraterrestrial because they're trying to hide their true origins. Yeah, they want us to look at the stars, and they don't want us to look in the ocean.
Look at point A, but we're over here in point B. Yeah, smart, right? Wouldn't you try to do the same thing? Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, Admiral Byrd, he was the Antarctica guy, wasn't he?
Correct. He took a fleet. I think it was the 7th Fleet he took out there to study. And while he was on a flight mission, his planes were alleged they were pulled in by some kind of tractor beam into an opening in Antarctica, and he was pulled into the inner earth, which he said they called Argothia, I believe is how you pronounce it. And they had flying craft, and they were bipedal beings that spoke telepathically, and they looked different than us, but they were bipedal. And they explained the whole rundown of how they got, how they ended up getting pushed underground and everything. And then when it was all over, he's like, all right, get out of here and don't ever come back, they told him. So when you think of it like that, I mean, we would do the same thing, right? We don't want anybody coming on our land, taking it from us, ruining anything for us. We would be the same way. And especially that we're a war-loving race, who would want us around when you really
totally. I 100% know that's why we haven't gotten much further in some aspect. Because they're like, no, those crazy monkeys are going to destroy everything if they get over here.
Yeah.
Especially if they find out everything's made of gold. It's over.
True.
It's funny because if you listen to the lead singer of Blink-182, which always has the best information, rock stars.
Todd DeLonge's a saint.
Just the guy I want to listen to.
Tom DeLonge's a saint.
So apparently it's Tom DeLonge. This is what he said. He didn't come up with this, but this is what his research has showed. And he's not the only one. I mean, other people believe this to be true, but they believe that, one part of the story is that early on in human evolution, that real extraterrestrials came, or I don't know, or maybe they were from the ocean. Anyway, some advanced being came and they lied to us. They said they were gods instead of saying what they really were. And that they're the ones who started all the different religions, like, Christianity, Buddhism, et cetera, and that they hate each other, these different alien races. And so that all I'm saying this because there's a lot of wars that humans do, and a lot of these wars still today are religious wars. And so what Tom DeLonge said is that all those religious wars are perpetrated by the others, whoever they are. So really, we are being manipulated. If this is true, we're being manipulated to fight the majority of these wars, which are wholly religious wars.
Yep.
Which is a shame. Yeah. And the thing is, it's so ingrained in our culture that even if the truth were to come out, I'm sure a substantial amount of those people would not want to believe it.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it for a second. And I was raised Catholic, and I would be like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, me too. I was raised Catholic myself too. Yeah.
But what's interesting about Christianity is that Christianity is legitimately, it doesn't even hide it. It is an extraterrestrial worshiping religion. Because if you look at Genesis, it's the first book of the Bible, Old Testament, just read the first paragraph. It says, God created the earth. Okay, well, if God created the earth, then he's not from earth. He was here before Earth.
Right.
So by definition, he's extraterrestrial. So we're worshiping an extraterrestrial. It doesn't mean he looks like a gray. It just means he is an extraterrestrial. Right. That also means, curiously, that Jesus is a hybrid between an extraterrestrial and a human, which is what people say is happening to them all the time.
Good way to look at that. Yeah, I never looked at it like that. Yeah, cool.
Unfortunately, we just said we were Catholic, so we're not going to be reading the Bible anytime soon. So we pay a guy. You'll have to ask him to do it.
But if you listen to Travis Walton, when he talked about his abduction experience, he was trying to fight off these little gray type beings to get away from him. And beings walked in, he said, that looked just like you and I. And he felt more comfortable to go with them. He'd rather go with the ones that look like us opposed to the little gray guys. And when he went with them, he realized they didn't speak. Everything they were doing was telepathic. He started realizing by their mannerisms that they weren't the same as us. They were another form of race, of extraterrestrial race. So that kicks back to what you were saying that about God. He may look like us, but he's not from Earth, and the same thing with these beings. That's been said on multiple occasions with abduction scenarios. So I find that fascinating.
What do you think about this idea? This is a crazy implication that I think has probably got some validity to it. Anthony, have you heard anything about this? So let me tell you why. Let me support why I think this may be true. Well, another rock band, another rock artist, coincidentally, but Billy Corgan, the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins, he went on Joe Rogan. He told a story that one day he was in a room with a music executive, and then the music executive's face changed in front of him, and it's something that was not human. And then afterwards, Billy acknowledged it. He's like, "What happened?" And the guy said, "Yeah, my face changed," or whatever. Billy says he doesn't want to talk anything about it. And then if you listen to James Fox, the famous director, who's about to release a movie called Moment of Contact about a Brazilian UFO landing with small aliens. And, he's directed a lot of movies like Out of the Blue. He said in some posts on Facebook, he said he talked to somebody in power And that person told them basically that there are aliens among us walking around
Mhm.
disguised as humans. So have you heard? I think this is probably true. Have you heard of anything like this?
Yeah, I actually just covered this a couple stories ago on my show.
Okay.
I strongly believe that they are 100% living, breathing, walking among us, working with us, and we're none the wiser. We don't tell. It's probably not until they get home and kick their boots off and their fins pop out or whatever they got, that they're able to be at peace with themselves. But I truly think that I mean, enough of them fly through or come from under earth or wherever they're coming from, under the water, whatever, that it's very possible that some of them want to come up here to stay and live and experience life above. So I really think they're up here. We've all seen people where we would assume they had some kind of medical condition and that's why they looked the way they looked, but I didn't study any of those people, so who's to say that they aren't some form of extraterrestrial or a star seed or a mixed race being? We don't know unless you run tests on these things. So
How do you think they
I
do?
think it's real.
I wonder how do they do it? Like, because there's some sinister ways of doing it. Like, look, I don't want to be conspiratorial, but like, let's say there's one way of doing it is like, okay, you're an alien, you have the technology to disguise yourself, and you have telepathic ability, you could see the future. So you say, look, I'm going to get in a position of power, so I'm going to disguise myself as a human, make a fake identity, start at a company and work my way up, and then I could get all this money and power. That will take a while. It's easier because you have these abilities, but another way of doing it is like, let me take out the CEO and just take his place, and I'm already
Yeah.
the CEO. I mean, how do you think they do it? That's what I'm curious. How do they integrate themselves?
Who knows how much more advanced they are than us, education wise? These guys can probably do our math, in a
Yeah,
blink
absolutely.
of an eye. They probably could look at a book and absorb knowledge if they had to. Like they could read multiple books at once. Who knows what their capabilities are, until we dissect one and really study it. So they're probably extremely intelligent. And if they wanted to move in on somebody's territory, they could probably just do it like that because they're so intelligent. Who knows? That's a big what if moment. I don't have the answers for that, but I would assume they're way more intelligent than us.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them like, okay, if I was to say they could, if they wanted to do it non-sinisterly, I mean, I could see how they could do it because humans do this, like, when the military, I mean, with the United States government takes someone and do what is it, no, not Secret Service. They hide their identity. What is that called? They start a new life for them.
Witness protection.
Oh, witness protection.
Witness protection. Yeah.
Yeah. So they take a human basically, and they just like, hey, here's your new identity. Here's your social security card. Here's all your documents. That sounds easy for an extraterrestrial to do. So the extraterrestrial's like, okay, I'm going to make my new face with my technology. I'm going to go ahead and make all the documents I need to survive and get a job. So I could see him doing that way. That's not very sinister, but I could also see sinister ways of doing it if they don't.
I can also see the government working with beings like that want to live up here with us and say, hey, look, you teach us your ways and your technology, and we'll give you anything you want, money, passports, whatever you need. You help us, we'll help you, because I can definitely see our government doing that.
Yeah, that opens up.
It also lends some thought into the fact there's not been a giant war since they started coming here. The mid 40s.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like no world wars, basically.
World War.
Yeah, I mean, there's been the skirmishes and the oil wars, but as far as like nukes and marching on entire continents, it's been basically. I'm not complaining, but it's just been kind of slow. And it seems like since they've been here, maybe everybody's working with a certain sect, or there's like a level above the elite, keeping everybody in check at a certain level.
And the reason why they wouldn't stop all wars is because wars are incredibly profitable.
Mm-hmm.
They make billionaires out of millionaires.
Yep.
In example. So
I'm a defense contractor, so let's keep that talk to a minimum. That's paying for this podcast right now. Thanks.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Keep putting shells in the mag, baby.
Now, what's interesting is there's another channel called Beyond Creepy, and he just reads he finds stories from like the internet, and I think he gets a lot of his content from Albert Rosales. Albert Rosales, if you follow him on Facebook, he always posts humanoid encounters. He's all into humanoids. He's an ex-cop as well, Anthony. Albert Rosales. I'll send you an invite to his humanoid channel, although I might have already invited you. But So anyway, Beyond Creepy posted an account of a woman who dated a guy, and while they were having sex, he changed into a reptile. And but that guy, he didn't have a lot of power. He didn't have a job in power, but she did like leave him because that freaked her out. And years later, he was like, "Oh, I work in Wall Street." So Wall Street would be a great job to have if you could be telepathic, if you could sense the future.
Oh, without a doubt.
But at the time when she met him, he didn't have a high power job. Because at first I was like, okay, it would only be worth it for an extraterrestrial to live as a human if they had a high power job. But this story, if it's true, it seems to indicate that not necessarily. Perhaps you would want to be a human, even have like a low level, mid level job. So they could be anybody in that case, anywhere.
I wonder why they would want a low level, mid level. I guess.
Well, this guy was, okay, in the story, this guy was sleeping around with a lot of women. He was like a philanderer, all the ladies' man. So maybe they have the same carnal instincts that humans have, they just want to party, some of them. Well, like,
just like spring break.
Yeah, spring break, yeah, I guess.
A good way to think about it is like, okay, let's imagine, let's roll reverse, okay? Let's pretend that now there's a whole race that lives in the ocean, and they're less technologically advanced than us, but they have a lot of cool stuff. And we're the ones, all humans are the ones that are intelligent. I could definitely see humans doing that just for fun.
Yeah.
I could see some of us disguising ourselves as these aliens and going into the ocean and living among them just for fun.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Because I think, like you mentioned this earlier, Anthony, I really think we do ourselves a disservice if we assume that the others, whatever they are on a higher level than us, or they wouldn't do that.
Absolutely.
I think we're a lot like them, or they're a lot like us, or vice versa, whatever. I think that we're incredibly similar. Like I think they would laugh at a fart joke. I always think about that. I'm like, I really do think these extraterrestrials will laugh at a fart joke. What does that tell us about them? It tells us that they're extremely alike to us. They're not this high pedestal. They're not on a high pedestal.
A lot of channels you go on or you watch, they're always saying that they're more advanced than us. They're more technology. Their technology is more savvy than ours. They have craft that can get from point, but they just may have craft that can get from point A to point B like that, because the technology on their world and materials on their world are different than we had. I'm sure if we had access to the same materials that they had, we could do the same thing. So I always say, don't put anybody on a pedestal till you meet them and see how they operate, because they could be, their crafts could be amazing, but they could be, empty-headed. They could be stupid for all.
I think so too. Yeah,
they could have the mind of a 5-year-old for all we know.
And I think that's a really good advice to take for humans as well. Like I'm always like, look, I meet somebody, a Navy SEAL, they're a doctor, I don't, to me, all that means that to me, I don't make any judgments about their character. All that tells me is that this person, this Navy SEAL, let's say, for example, all that tells me is that this individual completed the steps necessary to become a Navy SEAL. Right. He might have cheated. He might have lied his way through. I'm not saying that's true, but I don't give anybody automatic respect because they're a doctor, a politician, or whatever. If somebody says that they're a medical doctor, all that tells me this person found a way to complete all the steps necessary to become a doctor. And that's all it means. So
especially on Earth, you know how that shit goes. I mean, people lie, cheat, and steal from each other to get whatever they want. So, we see it all the time. So, I totally agree.
It's natural too. I mean, it would be great if we could go above it, but I say it's natural because the animals do it all the time. I mean, animals lie, cheat, and steal to get where they need to be. So it seems to be common for all living things. But you would hope that humans could, rise above those kind of actions.
Yeah, I don't know about us rising above things like that. Because if we can get it, we're gonna get it. That's just how we are.
No, it's true. It's just a silly little wish I have.
That's kind of the reason, like stuff like communism doesn't work. It's got people that want to compete. It's in our blood.
Yep,
that's true.
And that whole, laugh at a fart joke, it could be, for lack of a better term, what's the humans are made in his image. In his image may mean the way we are, that the human drive. Because if you don't have drive, you're still an amoeba in the ocean.
Right.
Well, there's that Sumerian legend that says that humans were actually a hybrid. We're a created species. We didn't come about naturally. We are actually a hybrid between the aliens and some other race. You know, they engineered us to be the way we are, and so they engineered all our.
Was it Anunnaki?
Oh yeah, Anunnaki. Yeah, that's what it was. That there was an earlier version of us, but we were too smart. We were too strong and smart. So they're like back to the drawing board.
Yep, they had to knock us down a peg or two.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
I could see a race putting genetic constraints on us, I could see them putting genetic constraints to make us more aggressive, less sociable, less intelligent, and less telepathic, because that would suppress us greatly. And that would be to the benefit of some other race. You know, they don't want a competition.
Who's to say that millions of years ago we didn't come from another planet that was dying, and we shipped the last of our people off, and we found Earth as a habitable planet, and we started living here. And when we left that planet, wherever it was we may have came from, we brought other beings that lived there with us, and they went underground and we stood above ground. I mean, who's to say? When you look at ancient fossils, you have so many different versions of human. Like now, what are we now? Homo sapiens sapien, and how many more before us? I mean,
I think it was about 10. Well, it was 10 that we know of. We're finding more, but 10 at least. 10 human
the
species.
Denisovans. I mean, there was so many.
Didn't they recently find some more?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always growing, the number. Yeah, there's one, like I think some fairy accounts are probably Homo florensis, which is they're called the hobbits. Right. So there was a very short, even at adults, they were very short humanoids. Probably there were several different kind of short humanoids. They survived. Obviously, if Bigfoot is just a living animal, then he's been around here as long as we have at least. So probably maybe some of the fossils we found, some of those 10 species, that's actually Bigfoot. You know, people always say we don't have a body, but perhaps we do have a body. We're just calling it something. We're calling it Denisovians. We're calling them Homo erectus. We're calling them Neanderthals. But perhaps that is. I mean, because there were large. I mean, these other human species, they were bigger than us, and they were stronger.
That kills me, Waltry, is that we don't find Sasquatch bones. I mean, I don't know. I mean, granted, there's probably a very small colony left of them on the entire Earth, but still, to never run into anything, a femur, a chest cavity, a full skull. I mean, I know we found teeth and like portions of a jaw.
Right.
That's it.
Well, here's the thing. I have to admit, because I was talking to my friend who's a medical doctor, and we got in a heavy discussion about Bigfoot, and he got me with that. I mean, that is true. It's a very hard hurdle to climb to say, why haven't we found a body? Now, I could see a couple little things. Like, number one, it's not good enough to find a body, because it's possible bodies have been found by a hunter or by some tribal person, but that's not good enough. We have to find a body, and that body, here's the thing, that body has to somehow make its way to a scientist. Right. So the scientist is the one. So I'm saying perhaps a lot of bodies have been found, but what do? They eat them, they cook the bones, they don't know the importance of them.
Right.
So that's one possible thing. One possible explanation is that bodies have been found, but they have not made their way to a scientist. Because like I said, somebody could have a body right now, and it's just a knickknack in their garage.
Right.
That's nobody's gonna not know about it. The other thing is I don't know, they probably bury their bodies. I went to a talk in grad school where this biologist had been studying this cave. And so there was an early form of primates, very human-like. I don't remember the species exactly. But what they would do is there was this cave with a little hole, and then the hole would dip down into the cave into a big cavernous area. And based on his evidence, what these guys would do every time they had a dead body, they would just throw it down the chutes, and that area just piled up with dead
bodies. Oh my God, man.
So that's an evidence of some kind of primate species. It's extinct now, that it did some form of burying their bodies.
My good buddy Doug Hijack, he did Monster Quest for the History Channel. We're good friends, and he was he actually tied up a deer carcass and filmed it for like over a week, just to show how rapidly decay happens. So you watch within the first day, it's going, second day, third. By the fourth day, you're down to the bones. By the sixth day, the bones are already deteriorating.
Right. So
if something was left to the wild, over time, nature's going to just take it back and turn it to dust again. So unless we find it within the right period of time, it will disappear. You know, animals will come eat it, natural decay and bloat and all of that stuff happen. So it's plausible. But then again, we're talking about an animal that's over 1,000 pounds, 1,500 pounds, what they're talking. I mean, how long would something like that take to decay? But then again, if you go further down the rabbit hole, these things live in the middle of nowhere. I've heard stories where it's a 4 or 5 day hike just to get to the general area where they stay. So who's going to be out in that area unless one of them comes close?
Yeah,
Have sightings all the time.
that's the other thing. If they're intelligent, which I think they are, if in their culture for thousands of years they have it in their mind that we have to hide our bodies, then they would purposefully, perhaps they would have a burial site where they purposely know, they're like, look, this is hidden, it's inaccessible to almost anybody. That could be possible, but like I said, eventually as time goes on, people are just encroaching into the forest more and more.
Yep.
So eventually we would find a body. That's why I really believe all these paranormal things, they cannot hide from science forever. There will come a day when they can't hide anymore.
Yeah,
It's just a
eventually
matter
the
of time.
frequency is going to catch up that we can detect.
Yeah.
Like the frequency and the light wave. And there's a popular meme that went around. It's been going around about 10 years. It's it says the amount of missing persons throughout the United States. And it has, I'm sure you've seen overlapping cave systems of the United States. It's like the same graph. And I think that I think they might have solved the Bigfoot thing with that meme, not knowing it. Because if there's that kind of cavernous areas, like, so they're going somewhere and underground or in space or a different dimension, and one of them has to be it. I would say underground's more likely.
That's interesting, Bobby. That's a great point.
Very plausible.
It's a very point. Everybody always says they bury their bodies, but what if we take it a step further? They don't just bury their bodies; they put them in a super deep cave system.
Yeah,
that's probably more likely.
I mean, it makes as much sense if dimensions. I like the dimensions theory better just because I'm woo woo.
Well, but I like that theory as well.
Hey, I'm all in it. But there was a oh my gosh, it was a cartoon where somebody kept popping up all over the place because of different cave systems. And like that's, I mean, they go down, they come up, they know they're obviously ancient, so they know like their entire culture, maybe a certain cavern we don't have no clue about existing.
Right.
Yeah, I laugh when you see those cartoons like that, because then it makes me think like somebody's seen something. Mm-hmm. And then they made a cartoon or a movie about it, because they don't want to go out and tell their story. So they just make a cartoon. Oh, let's make this a cartoon. There's a cave system with a portal, and Bigfoot goes on this part of the portal and ends up on this part.
Oh, I know what it was. It was a Simpsons movie when Maggie kept appearing outside the dome. Remember when she kept coming outside the dome?
Tell you everything that happened in history. That's great.
I mean, they pretty much revealed Bigfoot right there.
Yeah.
Here's something that talking about movies and paranormal stuff. So here's something that's happening, and this is probably not happening on purpose, but I think it's still having a good effect for disclosure. Okay, if you look at the movie series that has made the most amount of money and has the most attention worldwide, it's the Marvel superhero movies. Okay, now what's interesting to me about those movies is that almost everybody in the world can tell you about the movies, but and a lot of people watch it all over the world. What's interesting, if you watch one of their biggest movies called The Avengers, the first Avengers, an event happens in that movie. In that movie, there's alien disclosure. So alien disclosure happens in that movie because aliens attacked New York City. But that world is very similar to ours. And then what happened, there's several movies that have come out that are so popular after that alien disclosure movie happened. It's in the same universe, cinematic universe, and everybody's normal. Life doesn't stand still. Everybody accepts now. They accept that aliens are real. And I think that's doing something good for disclosure, because people are watching that and maybe subconsciously they're like, oh, look at these people. These people had alien disclosure. Their world looks a lot like my world, but it still keeps going. People still keep going to the restaurants. They still keep working. It's no big deal. So I feel like that's kind of priming the pump a little bit, getting people ready for disclosure.
A lot of people swear that's how they drop information into the public through the movies. The government tells Marvel, hey, look, let's add a little bit of this, a little bit of that in, and let it run. And then the next one comes out and they add a little more. And to get the public, they see it, so it's right. It becomes like second nature to them, that it's natural to see. So I've heard that many times now.
Yeah, so like I said, I don't know if that's on purpose, but I do believe 100% that it is a good thing, and it is prepping society. It is prepping the world for disclosure. I do think that's happening.
I've asked so many people, if the government told you tomorrow that extraterrestrials are real and crafts are flying around above us, would it frighten you? Everybody I've spoken to said no, they would love to hear that. They're so ready for it. It's been a long time coming, and this and that.
It would
And
be such
I
it would be such a fun break from all the terrible news we've
yeah,
had. I mean,
absolutely.
it'd be something different.
Absolutely.
They couldn't
the
keep us
inter-
divided if they did that, though.
What's that?
They couldn't keep us divided if they did that, and everybody had like something fun to talk about.
There you go.
Yeah, what's like Ronald Reagan said, Ronald Reagan in his famous speech, he's like, I often wonder, what effect it would have if we all found out there was an alien race, and how together we would feel. I think he was onto something. I think he probably knew something.
And is there not already an alien race among us? I know
There
that.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great speech.
Somewhere.
The other thing about a disclosure that's very interesting is that when disclosure happens, it's like everything changes, but nothing changes at the same time, because nothing changes because it's always been there. Literally, it's nothing new is happening. It's just the only thing that changes is what you know. It's your consciousness.
Right.
You're just simply aware of something. That's so in the like I said, it's so weird. It's a dichotomy. It's two sides. At the one side, it's the biggest thing that ever happened, but on the other side, it's the smallest thing that ever happened because nothing happened. Everything's exactly the same as it's always been. That's very curious as well.
And how much of covering up disclosure is because of the energy industry, the oil industry?
Oh yeah.
That they know that if we get that anti-gravity technology, it's ball game for everything else.
Yep.
Right.
And just like I kind of had an epiphany. I'm fascinated with the Apollo missions. I live in Huntsville.
Okay.
And so it's my life as Apollo and it's country music and there's no in between. And we just toured the Rocket Center last week. I sent you pictures, Wild Tree, I think, or you saw them. You click like on something. But
okay.
The moon is covered in H3 helium-3,
Right. Yep.
which 1 acre of that cures energy problems for 10,000 years. Why do you think Nixon killed the moon program? I'm like, wait a minute, it has nothing to do with freaking George Lowell. I think of his name, Tom Hanks from Apollo 13. It has nothing to do with public opinion. It was going to kill the industry. I think Big Oil killed it.
Going back up there now for?
Yeah. But
What do you think?
that was the plot of that movie, the show For All Mankind. That was a subplot of it.
Interesting.
H3 helium-3 ended all the oil jobs and everybody's freaking out.
What do you think? They're not going to go up there now on mine?
Well,
I hope they do.
Don't they have moon mission? Let me look. I think we're going to the moon. They've announced the moon mission.
That's where I was at Saturday. Was at the moon mission.
You were there. You were
if this Artemis 1 launch ever gets off the ground, then that'll be the first one that passes with the dummies, and then we'll have manned missions that are going to land there and stay on there. So
they were testing the mission. They were testing the engines about 2 miles from where I work.
Oh wow, it's cool, man. Loud.
They would burn them. I think every so often you get like an email. Will be loud noise from down the other side of the post.
That's so cool. So cool.
Yeah, I was just down in what's it called? South Padre Island, where SpaceX launches a bunch of
you're in Houston.
Yeah, and I'm in Houston as well.
Kindred spirits over here. We got Cape Canaveral and Johnson.
You know what's so sad? I wish it was like this, but it wasn't. I heard a story that when they were getting the moon mission ready in NASA, Kennedy was like, we got to get this thing started. It was like, okay, we got to get this thing started. So anybody that called for the job, there were people with educations, but they all kinds of careers. Anybody that called NASA is like, hey, I want a job with this moon thing. They would just accept them. I mean, if you had credentials, but it didn't matter what kind of credentials. They're like, yeah, come down. They would accept them and they would find something for them to do. It wasn't that selective, and it worked because we got to the moon.
It's only like that today, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was such a great attitude to have, like love for your fellow Americans. You have a hope and you have expectations for them. That's great. I don't see that much anymore.
I think it's still there if you don't pay attention to social media.
Okay, that could be true. Yeah, why not?
I'm waiting for my wife to say, "Babe, you got a call. Who is it? It's somebody from NASA." Yeah, right. Ain't so fun. Yeah, how can I? Yeah, you're the UFO guy. Yeah, we got a spot for you down here. There's a car outside waiting for you. These guys. Oh shit! There's a black SUV outside. This is for real. Like I'm waiting for that phone call to happen. That'd be so cool, right?
Yeah. Give me the Amy Adams.
They
of
start
the new,
hiring ufologists to go down to NASA for the new program.
Yank me out of my bed at night.
What's that?
Yank you out of your bed at night.
Yeah.
Come with us.
They're coming with us.
So Bobby, you think that this how much do you think these negative feelings are being amplified by social media? What percentage?
I think like 90, 99, all of them. Because when I'm off social media for a day, I go to the woods, I come back, and I'm not even talking about podcasts. Podcasts don't do it. Podcasts, I think, are medicine. I think they're disseminating it because you can say what you want and it's not directed by anybody. You choose your own adventure book. But social media, you get pissed off. 15 minutes. I mean, you're just in the bathroom for 15 minutes. You're like, man, I hate the president. I hate everybody. I'm going to go.
Is that by
yeah, it used to be maybe by design.
Okay, because I was going to say
used to be.
The other, because the other thing is that, I mean, that just sells. People love drama that gets clicks. But yeah, so I wonder, how much of this,
it's an echo chamber.
Oh yeah.
You don't get you don't get anybody else's views. You get your views and dissenting things against the other views. That's how it builds up. That's how they keep you on there. You don't get. It's not like it's fair and balanced.
It's funny because when I was in graduate school, it was kind of like boot camp, I guess, but for academics, because I don't think this was done maliciously, but I was talked down a lot by all the other scientists. Talked down, and not in a disrespectful way, but all my ideas were questioned and whatever. I was always pushed to my limits, so they weren't acting very friendly around me. But I believe that's because they were training me to be a tough scientist, because that's what the world was going to show me. Just like when you go to boot camp, they push you to your limits. A lot of times, I don't think that I haven't been to boot camp, but I believe that's not to be malicious, not to be ugly. It's part of your training to make you stronger.
Break you down to build you back up.
Exactly.
Stronger fashion.
So I'm saying that I think that's benefited me, because I mean, I've gotten some bad feedback, not a lot, since I started being online, and I just thank them. I'm like, hey, thanks for your feedback. I'm sorry you feel that way. God bless, and I just move on.
Yeah. You're gonna get trolls everywhere, man. It's just part of the game, I have people that don't even watch my show, and they'll leave a comment, and they'll leave negative comment. I'm like, did you even watch the show? Because what you're saying is not even what we talk about.
Right.
I kind of call those people NPCs. I mean, because it seems like if you don't have a sense of humor and if you don't pay attention to all different areas of life, that you turn into these people that just judge for no reason. Like whatever the news says, that first article, that's what you take on any subject.
Right.
Anything. And I'm more conservative than some, but I have some of the most liberal views in my family too at the same time.
So it's like you're saying that the echo chamber or the one track mind kind of thing. You're very rigid and you can't move around. I see that with people. I mean, once again, that's something I get from science, where if you're, and unfortunately a lot of scientists don't act this way anymore, but one of the key principles of science is that it's self-correcting. It's not written in stone. And you have to accept, when the evidence is large enough, you have to change radically what you believe. So that's the opposite of being, echo chamber or being like very rigid in your thoughts. So I mean, if I hear someone say something that's very different than what I believe, I listen. I'm like, okay, and I think about it without emotions, and maybe I agree, maybe I don't. And I fully believe that what I believe could be wrong. I'm not 100% sure everything I believe is true, but it's just what I have at this moment. It's the best I can do.
Nobody's 100% on what they believe in, Same thing with, extraterrestrial UFO hunting and paranormal and cryptid. I don't got an alien chained up in the basement that I could study, or a Sasquatch in my back room over here where I can dissect and find out all the answers. Nobody knows. So we're all taking our best educated guesses on the stuff that we're studying. That's all it is.
Yeah, I would love a manuscript on exactly why certain tall tales, Sasquatch, aliens, I like they're real. Why we think they're real. Oh, that was it the whole time. I would love that. Gigantopithecus, if that was it.
Right.
But people have saw them like with credible witnesses in the last 50 years.
Well, that was a real animal, Gigantopithecus. That was a real deal. That thing was running around, but it was a lot bigger than your Bigfoot today. So
and
that's why we have an offshoot of Bigfoot, and it's an offshoot of Gigantopithecus.
Well, like I said, we're always finding the new fossil. So it's very probable that we just haven't found that fossil of that exact species. But we have similar things. We have enough similar species that's like I could do deductive reasoning and come to the conclusion that Bigfoot is real. We also have, apes and orangutans and gorillas. I mean, to me, like Bigfoot is not that crazy, the way it looks. We have similar things to it. It's not that the grays are a little more out there, because we really don't have anything that compares to the gray.
Yeah, I don't think the anatomy of Bigfoot's what the big problem we have with them. It's where the hell are they?
Right.
In the long run. And why can we only see them for a second? And why can't a camera pick them up?
Yeah, you got like an 11-foot tall bipedal creature running around the forest and nobody found him yet. I think that's what gets people.
Yeah, I famously got kicked out of BFRO for mentioning a dissenting opinion about a great ape theory. I'm like, sorry, you don't have a body either, buddy. So any theories in the air.
Right.
Those are those rigid people we talked about. They
Yeah,
couldn't
man.
accept your dissenting view.
Like my theory is just as good as yours.
That's
bro.
right.
I've seen just as many as you have.
Right.
Anyway,
But yeah,
what was you gonna say,
Yeah.
Juan?
Oh no, I was just going to say that you mentioned portals earlier, and yeah, I think portal technology is real too, and that it'd be fun to have a portal gun. And it probably works the way it does in Rick and Morty. You just shoot it and just go wherever you want.
Interesting transition to my final question to Anthony before I let him go, because it's bedtime on Long Island or Staten Island, where Pete Davidson's currently working as a fireman, with Bill Burr and his mustache. What do you know about the Montauk up there? I just had a discussion with a gentleman, common friend, Dark Hour, last week about
Dark Hour.
Montauk.
Yeah, sure. Dark Hour Paranormal, great guy, Mike.
That dude's amazing.
I haven't been up there, but my friend Mike, he's Long Island Bigfoot. He would like me to go up there to Montauk with him to visit. And somebody was just telling me they were going up there. Was it you that was going to meet Dark Hour Paranormal to go film up there or something?
I just talked to him after he got back.
Okay, so he
like
went
the day
up
he
there.
got back, he talked to me.
He was going up there with somebody, and I can't remember who. Oh, that's who he was going up there with. Long Island Bigfoot. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And they invited
Checks
me.
out.
He invited me to go up there with him, but I was doing something and I couldn't make it. But yeah, I would love to get up there. I don't know much about it. I've heard the stories that we've all heard, but I would like to physically get up there and lay my eyes on it. I know it's falling apart now, and they got a fence around it, and you really can't get too close to it. But I would love to go up there and check it out.
They replaced some of the electrical infrastructure around there not too long ago, for no reason. Like why do they do that?
I wonder if they have something underground still.
Yeah,
going.
that's the thing. Like they think it's underground.
I mean, a lot of crazy things washed up from that place and ended up on the shores.
I'm a huge fan of Sam Tripoli, the Tinfoil Hat podcast.
Mhm.
He came to town not too long ago, and he did a documentary with this. Did I send you that wild CW's Mysteries Decoded? It was a little short documentary series. I think it's probably canceled, especially if it's on the CW.
Yeah, doesn't it have Ryan Sprague on it?
It was a woman. I don't know who it was.
Okay.
Ryan Sprague might have been a guest that time. He did an episode at Montauk.
Good guy, Ryan Sprague.
Yeah, they were. That's a really good episode. Like I didn't really know that much about it, but it's freaking me out because they had people who claimed to be part of the experiments.
Interesting.
Time travel portals. Like how in the world?
Could you imagine? Could you imagine if that's all legit? If that all really happened?
That'd be crazy. I hope it is.
So do I.
You know, they're saying Russia's got a Montauk chair too.
Oh.
Which when did they get it? And could that be again part of my theory about why there's been no world wars? Like we're all chilling on the other side of the universe, quit fighting on Earth, kind of thing. And that's how I think. That's when I think it. That's how I think. And marijuana is not even legal in my state. Imagine
if you had the opportunity to travel like that, to time travel like that, would you do it?
Oh, 100%. One thing I don't understand about time travel, which in my mind, thinking linearly, not multiple timelines. If it was the case, there would be just hordes of people at the crucifixion and at the moon, at the I would say the date of the dinosaurs crashing, but you'd have to dial that in. But you know, any historic baby Hitler's grave would just be, it'd be like Council of Ricks. People just trying to just bust through the door, like, and they'd kill the next one, kill the next one, kill the next one.
But that would only story about things on one timeline. If there's a multiple timeline theory,
yeah. That's why I was saying linearly. Like if there's more timelines.
Yeah, there's definitely multiple timelines.
Because I'm just picturing
that has to be.
I'm just picturing that Council of Ricks just busting down the door. Baby Hitler's drop. Baby Hitler. God damn it. There's a short story about having to stop going to kill Hitler. God dog. I'll have to find it. It's funny. Kind of like that one that says they're all made of meat. The aliens talking to each other about going to Earth for the first time. Like they talk with meat. They think with meat. They see with meat. They're just meat.
Everything has bacon on it.
No, they're talking about humans. They're talking about humans being made of meat. Like, what do you mean? They're not some kind of energy? No, they're just meat. Surely they think with energy. No, they think with meat. How do they see? They have little meat sacks in their face. Yeah, just that's the kind of thing there'd just be a horde of people if they were just linear, but different timelines. That makes sense then. But then that's a whole another 3 hours of talking in and of itself.
That is funny though. That is funny. The idea that all these events would be just crowded. These historical events would be just super crowded full of people.
Yeah, you want to like look into pictures of stuff that happened recently, and like is anybody there like wearing like a Braves hat, maybe like in the background?
You look at historical photos, and they show you people that look exactly like this actor from 100 years ago, and they look identical to each other. That stuff freaks me out. But if you could time travel and you were able to go from here to the dinosaurs, right? I think it wouldn't be a problem getting there, but coming back on the same timeline you traveled on would be an issue. Like you would be able to come back, but you would end up on a different timeline.
You would definitely screw something up if you went back to the dinosaurs.
100%.
No matter what, you could take a whiz next to a bush and just like on The Simpsons raining donuts. Anything could happen.
Absolutely.
That's the kind of thing that just freaks me out, like multiple timelines. Close enough.
Close enough.
Come back close enough, and there's just like frogs falling from the sky. All right. I think we've delved deep enough down the rabbit hole. Appreciate you being on, Anthony.
My pleasure.
And,
thank you.
My gathering of my little pack of precious podcast episodes I'm going to drop in a couple of months. I don't even know what number I'm up to yet. I'm scared to look. I'm scared it's not as high as I think it is. I've been trying to get my chops doing this like a stand-up comedian, do like 3 or 4 a week, but I can seem to only get 2. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
You shoot for the moon, and you still get kind of far.
Yeah, I've got all the time in the world. It's not like I've got till I get them, and they're not going to be bad. And I'm not trying to get like my friend Sam from down the street that I used to do. Whenever I didn't have a guest, he would come on here and talk about Michael Myers and stuff. And nobody, get like 1 view. I'm getting like people like Anthony and Dark. What's his name? Dark Hour.
And Michael, Dark Hour Paranormal.
God, he was amazing. I was like, just keep going, man.
He's excellent.
Can you just talk to my earphones in my sleep? and that Bigfoot David Parker we had on, that was amazing.
Yeah,
me and Wild Trees did one with Bigfoot guy. He was amazing. I want to go to his house.
He had a lot of information. Seems like an odd fellow, but I guess that makes sense. If you live with Bigfoot, you probably
that was my whole basis of how the people act that had real experiences.
Oh, okay.
Because they're never just those real charismatic guys who are like, don't tell anyone I told you this. and he wouldn't send you that hair when he got mad about that hair.
Yeah, I was like, just send me a strand,
I almost turned my camera off. I was like, oh god, about to be a fight. All right, we'll go ahead and end this. Thanks, guys, and we will talk later for sure. This is not the last time.
Pleasure.
See you later, right. Wild Tree. See you later, Anthony.
Take care, everyone. Good night, Wild Tree.
Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
It's a podcast.